Teruvan Saranai. Good evening, Dharma friends. We would like to bless each and everyone for a happy and peaceful 1 hour and 15 minutes in this Sutta study class. May you all be able to grasp the Dhamma for your mental peace and happiness right now and for a long time. Those friends who join with us from YouTube and also live stream, you are warmly welcome. And many friends join with us at this moment through Zoom. And I give you a great welcome once again with the blessings of the Noble Triple Gem. It is May 13, Saturday. We are still in the month of Vesak, in which the Buddha was born and attained enlightenment and also parinirvana, passing away. So that it is significant for us to discuss the Dhamma that are related to Buddha's life. Because of this reason, we selected Arya Pariyesana Sutta and discussed the first part of the discourse last week. And today we are going to cover the rest of the discourse. So let's begin the Sutta studies by paying homage to the Supreme Buddha by reciting the Namo Tassa 3 times in Pali and in English. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Homage to the Blessed One, the Worthy One, the Fully Enlightened One. Homage to the Blessed One, the Worthy One, the Fully Enlightened One. Homage to the Blessed One, the Worthy One, the Fully Enlightened One. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Friends, the Sutta study last week was about the introduction of Arya Pariyesana Sutta, the noble search of the Bodhisattva, and we were able to cover the details of how he, thought about his life as the Bodhisattva and went through teachers. Before that, in the introduction, we learned that the Buddha was telling this story to a group of monks because they were wanted to listen to the Buddha's Dhamma sermon after a long time, and with Venerable Ananda's intervention in a positive way, these group of monks were able to listen to the Buddha after a long time. And the bhikkhus, before the Buddha came to that place, were talking about the Buddha's life with extraordinary qualities. That was the reason for the Buddha to elaborate his life story, especially in this life as the Bodhisattva. There the Buddha talks about a little bit of his self-mortification, not so much, because in Mahasatchaka Sutta we find a long, detailed information about it, but here it's not that much. However, he was talking about such information, and one of the interesting information found in this discourse that Buddha went out from the palace while family members, including the father and the mother and the wife, are asking not to. In traditional Buddhist societies back in Asia, they believe that the Prince Siddhartha went away in the middle of the night while others are asleep. But it is wrong according to Sutta analysis, and we found this information from this discourse, Arya Pariyesana. Then we were talking about the significant abilities of ascetic Gautama, especially when he went to Alar Kalama and Uddakaramaputta. When those teachers say something, the ascetic Gautama was able to understand even something already not explained, so that the magical memory and thinking ability was there with ascetic Gautama. And then we were talking about other information related to and self-mortification. Attakila Matanu Yoga was chosen by the Siddhartha ascetic as the means to enlightenment, and he practiced it well. But we were talking about that some information are not in this discourse because the Buddha's purpose is to give a kind of summarized version of his journey to enlightenment, so that we don't find some information. But anyhow, he was talking about that he went to Uruvela, found that beautiful place for meditation, and he meditated unto enlightenment. And right after attainment to enlightenment, he was in a state of undecision to preach the Dhamma to anyone, because the Dhamma, he realized, is deep, appear to be deep and deep, and it is, of course, the Dhamma, explained through or understood through Paticcasamuppada, so that people who have been in kamasava, in bhavasava, in all kinds of sensual desires may not be able to realize this. So then the head of the Brahma realm called Sahampati realized the Buddha's intention and came and invited him to do the revelation of what he understood. So I think that's the place where we stopped last week. So I'd like to start from there. The Buddha said in Arya Parayasana Sutta this statement, this Dhamma that I have attained is deep, hard to say, hard to realize. That is true, because we know the Dhamma, but the manifestation of Dhamma would be difficult. In other words, theory and learning about theory would be somewhat easier if you put your attention, and time and space is there for you, you could do it. But the Pativeda, which means the realization of that theoretical Dhamma, would not be that easy. It needs so much dedication. This Dhamma is peaceful, refined, and beyond mere conjecture. It is atakkavachara dharma. Sometimes, people try to solve things through, analysis, just mere analysis, not through realization. So it won't be happening, because one has to realize this Dhamma from his or her own experience, so that tarka, or the takka in Pali, tarka in Sanskrit, in English, kind of argumentative method would not be applied for the higher teachings, because it is something we all should understood from our own experience. This Dhamma is subtle and is to be directly experienced by the wise. But the world delights in attachment, is excited by attachment, is devoted to attachment, and worship attachment. These are the Buddha's word about the world. For a world delighting in attachment, excited by attachment, devoted to attachment, worshipping attachment, conditioned towards self-identification from dependent on ignorance, this Dhamma is hard to see. I think Buddha's statement here is very true, and he is not saying that there are wise individuals who could understand this Dhamma, but generally he says that people who attach to sensual pleasures may not be able to see the depth of the Dhamma, the importance of the Dhamma. The awakened state is also hard to realize. The awakened state is including, the awakened state has these qualities. The resolution of all fabrication is mean the enlightened state is beyond sankara. The relinquishment of all acquisition. There is nothing gained when you get into this state. You neither get no rejection you are totally liberate from. You totally liberate from everything. Ending of craving, development of dispassion, development of cessation, and development of letting go of. These are some of the qualities of nirvana when you look about nirvana from outside before you attain to nirvana. Because why do I say this? When you are in nirvana, these are some of the words you explain about nirvana, but language is so poor to explain nirvana. So then Buddha is going on and on why I should not tell this Dhamma. Then the Sampati came and he said this, that there are people who could understand this Dhamma. We roughly just mentioned this simile of the Buddha. Just as one standing on a high peak might see people below, you the wise one. Oh, this is from Sampati Mahabrahma. He not only invited the Buddha, he actually admired the Buddha's knowledge into a certain extent by giving some metaphors. This is the metaphor. Just as one standing on a high peak might see people below, you the wise one with profound vision might take your place in the place of the Dharma, free from suffering. Look on those suffering, oppressed with birth and aging. So Buddha was compared to someone who is in the top of the mountain, who could see everyone below it. Of course, yes, when you see the whole condition of human existence, divine existence, and other existence, you see everything. There is nothing to hide, nothing to discover. So the Buddha said to this group of monks about this incident that Mahabrahma appreciated the Buddha's ability, and what he came for is reminded by Sampati Mahabrahma. It is also very nice to see this metaphor about those handful of people who could understand the Dhamma. It is as if a pond is permeated with or colored with red, white, blue lotus, born, growing, immersed in the water. They flourish, permeated with cool water from their root to tip, never standing above the surface. Even so, some might rise up and emerge from murky water. So when you look at the world from Buddha's point of view and Mahabrahma's point of view, there are people who can understand Dhamma just like those lotus flowers which came out of above the water and stay away from the water. Some, like lotus buds, they were with the level of the water. Some are still under. So with the wisdom level of humans and divine, we can see that differences of people with understanding. So some are very skillful in taking those subtle points into their mind. Some are very difficult, and we see this from each and everyone. Even in the Sangha order, monks are there who could understand things better, and some monks are not able to understand. And in the lay community, we see people who are very educated on the Buddha's teaching. They are able to deliver it well, while many people do not know such things. So even though they try, it's difficult for them to understand. So that is because of the differences of spiritual faculties. Seen thus, I decided to teach my Dhamma to open to the world the path to cessation. Those with eyes to see and ears to hear could come forth in conviction. Those lacking the eyes to see or ears to hear the pure Dhamma, I would not teach my refined and pure Dhamma. So why did the Buddha say this? Because there is no point for the Buddha to teach Dhamma for those people who cannot understand. However, he actually did not leave them aside, but Buddha was showing them the path of merits for them to at least to reborn in happy destination. Later, they could actually get a Kalyanamita association and other important things in life to get into nirvana. So even though he said that this statement in this discourse, he helped those people who may not be able to realize the Dhamma. So that is the what the Buddha said to himself after the invitation of Mahabrahma. Then he was searching to whom I should explain this Dhamma first. Alar Kalam and Udagrambutta were the people, the two individuals who thought about, and the Buddha found that Alar Kalam died a week ago, and Udagrambutta passed away on the previous night. So they were unfortunate because they were very old and they didn't have enough merits in their account to listen to the Buddha. Somebody else were in the list list so that they didn't have that meritorious power to listen to the Buddha. Then we found that in the discourse that Buddha, look into the group of 5 monks who help him to practice self-modification during that period. And he also found that they are in Varanasi, city of Varanasi, in the park Isipatana. So the Buddha was heading towards that city. So in this dramatic scene, Buddha was really giving us a kind of idea that how and which way he was thinking about the world and what was he can do in the name of psychic powers and so forth. However, we found that some divine intervention taking place in some occasion, just to show that even the divine beings are very interested in this wonderful things which going to happen. So in the while he was walking from Uruela, where he attained to Buddhahood, to Varanasi, he found a particular person called Upaka. Since the Buddha's appearance was so pleasant, Upaka questioned about the teacher of the Buddha, about the Dharma he practiced, and what kind of teaching he is delivering, and so many questions. Buddha answered those questions, but Upaka did not get the right message. It is said in some commentaries that Upaka did not have enough merits to understand the Buddha nature, the Dharma the Buddha explained there, and so forth, so that he left. The answers the Buddha gave to Upaka are very interesting, and I would like to read one because there are a few. Conquerors, when Upaka asks who you are, the Buddha said, conquerors like me have abandoned greed, aversion, and delusion. I have conquered all evil qualities. You are correct, Upaka. I am a conqueror. I am a winner. So that's one thing that the Buddha said there to Upaka. Upaka did not get the meaning of it. That's why he didn't question after that. Anyway, the Buddha said that I'm going to the deer park to meet a group of 5 monks to tell the Dhamma. So then Sutta says that the Buddha went to the 5 monks. And you know the story that these 5 monks were in a discussion not to welcome the Buddha because from their view, the Bodhisattva, the Prince Siddhartha, ascetic Siddhartha, was lazy and he was unable to attain enlightenment by practicing self-mortification. Therefore, their trust on the ascetic Gautama was over. They thought that ascetic Gautama now is coming to us after having a luxurious life with all kinds of physical strength, and his body, look his body. He is just like average person, eating like average person, sleeping like average person. So we should not respect him. However, he was royal, so that it is better for us to give a seat, proper seat. Yet, when the Buddha get closer to the place where a group of 5 monks live, they were unable to stay with their agreements. They one went forward and took the pathru and other items of the Buddha's possession, and another one washed the Buddha's feet, and another one greeted well, and another one made the seat available. So they were not in agreement. Now it is said that the power of the Buddha worked there. Anyway, when the Buddha said that, one of the 5 group, one of the 5 of them, or few of them said that friend. They called the Buddha friend or brother, something like that. But the Buddha asked them not to say that because it is a disgrace to call the supremely enlightened Buddha in such a way, and do not say that. But it was not well accepted yet by the 5 monks. First, then the Buddha said that Tathagata is not living luxuriously or straight from his exertion. The Buddha had to explain that I do not live a luxurious life like you think. I didn't end my effort in finding the enlightenment. I am the worthy one, rightly self-awakened one. Listen carefully, I'm going to teach you them. I came here to teach you them. For the first time, second time, third time, the group of 5 monks didn't pay attention to it. Then there is a place in the discourse that the Buddha said, did I tell this kind of things before? Have you experienced any time in the past that I said I attain enlightenment? Then they said no. The Kondanya and the other 4 monks from our term knew that the Prince Siddhartha never told a lie, even for a joke. So when the Buddha now is telling that I attained to full enlightenment, they click it. Prince Siddhartha never tell a lie, and this may be a true one. So then we found that the Buddha was able to talk about the Dharma exactly mentioned in the Dhammacakkappavattana Sutta. We can relink here. We can link the Dhammacakkappavattana Sutta here. There, another important thing happened. When the Buddha explained the Dhammacakkappavattana Sutta, when he started explaining the Dhammacakkappavattana Sutta and elaborated little by little, the group of 5 monks realized that whatever they were looking for is ignoble search or anariya pariyesa. Kondanya and other 4 thought that whatever we have been doing in our life was anariya pariyesana, ignoble search. Why it happened? Because they were matana yoga and kamasukallikana yoga also is ignoble search. With regard to finding the truth, these 2 things are ignoble. And now they are listening to the noble search. The noble search means whatever is subject to birth, dying, sicknesses, aging, defile, and so forth, should not be sought, should not be looked into. And if we are behind those things that are subject to birth, decay, and sorrow, lamentation, dying, and defile, that is called ignoble search. So the monks now realized that their search so far was not noble, futile. Now they are really in the noble learning. So there the Buddha is speaking about as a contemplative monk or Brahmin or truth seeker cling to sensuality in this manner, infatuated and enchanted with sensuality without understanding the suffering that follows, or the path to cessation should be known as unfortunate and having met ruin. So now Buddha, according to Arya Pariyesana Sutta, is explaining the Dhamma to these 5 group of monks, the group of large monks. Dhammacakkappavattana Sutta was to 5 monks. Now in this Arya Pariyesana Sutta, it is for a large group of monks. So any Brahmin, any truth seeker is believing on sensual pleasures, is not getting anything, because sensual pleasure, as you know, is the very difficult layer of craving, layer of ignorance that disturb us for going forward on the noble path. That's why we come across sensual pleasure as hindrances in the first place. Kama chanda and kama shava, and then kama tanha. See, from these term, we find that desire for pictures, desire for form, desire for sound, desire for smell, desire for taste, desire for tactile sensation is the key for going on this samsara. If we are able to understand the 5 string of sensual pleasures and make an end to them, I think it's easier for us to do the other things. The most difficult layer of craving or defilement is this panchakama, kamachanda. So if one, in the name of ascetic or monk or Brahmin, is able to let go of the 5, I think that is great. That is the most important thing, because the anger, very very attached to other defiled state, is easily nourished by with panchakama or kamachanda. In other words, right after kamachanda, we find vyapada. It is because with kamachanda, anger arises, ill will arises. Whenever we are not with we are not getting those kamachanda, we are going to be angry, we are going to be upset. So that they are just like two sides of one coin. If with one side, the other side is already being created. So likewise, we understand that kamachanda, desire for sensual pleasure, is provocating or inviting other defiled states. So that in Arya Pariyesana Sutta, the Buddha talks about the nature of sensuality, attachment to sensuality, and if any bhikkhu or any mendicant has have that kind of nature, he's not going to work. He's not going to cease the suffering or the causes of suffering. They are going to lose their point of their mendicant life. Again, the Buddha is going to tell in the same manner, any contemplative, any Brahman, any seeker who cling to sensuality in this manner, infatuated and enhanced with sensuality without understanding the suffering that follows, they are going to experience suffering. They have lost their mind, and the world will have its way with them. So when you go down in the sutta, Buddha is talking about such things, and those who are able to, as this is a reiteration, those who are able to control their mind, they are with regard to 5 sensual pleasures, they are going to win over. They are going to experience happiness. They are going to get away from suffering. Another simile is given here in the sutta, that is the deer simile of the deer. And if the deer, if a deer goes to the area where grass is grown well, and the deer hunter laid a trap there to catch the deer, and if the deer is not aware of it, he's going to be a victim of the hunter. So if we are not mindful about the 5 string of sensual pleasures, we are just like that deer who is unaware of the danger. We might be a victim of Mara. We might be a victim of our own defiled state. And if the deer is well aware of the danger, even though there are green grass, nice thing to eat, he is going to be away from those things because of the danger he foresees, so that he's going to escape from the danger. So having said these similes and metaphors, Buddha asks those monks over there to practice dharma, to be away from sensual pleasures. We find this statement, this similar statement, in many discourses, because the sensual pleasure is really dangerous. I mean, in the sense of clearing the path, because it pushes us to so many cravings and attachment, and the problem of suffering might be very complicated. No one then can help you to solve it out, because we ourselves made the things worsen in our mind. So that kind of similes are found in the discourse here. Furthermore, what is this? What is this in the term of the sutta? This is about Arya Pariyesana. Buddha is talking about Arya Pariyesana. With regard to Arya Pariyesana or noble search, in the first place, we have to soul out. We have to explain ourselves what is wrong with us, what is wrong with this life. Because unless you think in such a way, you are not going to work on the Noble Eightfold Path. Unless you experience aging, sicknesses, and sorrow, lamentation, pain, grief, how could you say that this life is so under suffering? We might be able to sense it. We talk about common sense. Common sense does a lot for us. Some people do not have it, but it is common. But that common sense is really important. With common sense, we can think that this life is not that rosy, that beautiful, because in each moment, physical and mental aspect of our life change to something else. And as a result, we experience frustration, stress. No matter how many things we have, we are going to experience unpleasant things. So that what is the meaning of this life? That would be the questions many people should ask on their own. So in the beginning of the noble search, we have to question this. We have to question our life. So in terms of explaining the noble search, Buddha talks about the fallacy of sensual pleasures. So those engaged in the noble search enter and remain in the first jhana. If you are working well with the sensual pleasures and related things, it may not be difficult for you to get into first jhana, because in the analysis we know that Kamachanda, Vyapada, Tinamidda, Uddacha, Kukkucha, Vichikicha, the 5 hindrances, keep the other unwholesome state in the bay. So, in other words, these 5 are the representative of all akusala, all unskillful state. The meaning of existing these 5 is every other unwholesome states also, covered our mind. But if you are doing something to diminish the power of sensual pleasures, it means that you are working towards samadhi. Look at the Noble Eightfold Path. With right understanding and right thinking, you are now talking only necessary things, the truth, something peaceful, something important, something worthwhile. And you do something worthwhile for you and everybody else as well, so that your life is righteous up to the point. When you continue this type of life, what you have been practicing so far in the Noble Eightfold Path, the first 5, right understanding, right thinking, right speech, right action, and right livelihood. So long you continue on this track so far, type of ability arises in you to stop certain moments that unskillfulness arises. You recognize unskillfulness from skillfulness, so that you can overcome the opportunities of unskillfulness. And if there is unskillfulness arisen in you, you know how to recognize it and let go of it. As a result, you practice kusala and you try to maintain kusala experiences, because you know that it is the most important thing. This is what called right effort. And it happens gradually, depending on what you practice before. Right thinking, right speech. Right thinking, right understanding, and right thinking are the key elements for you to have this kind of peaceful attitudes in your life. As a result, you are awakened to a situation, you are mindful about what is happening, and it may not be that difficult for that person to enter into first jhana. First jhana qualities are there in some people's mind due to this peaceful state of living. But attaining to first jhana would happen with type of extended meditation. But well, before that, with this right thinking, right understanding, and applying that very important wise attention, you would be having some sort of piti sukha in your mind always. Let me tell you this from another word. Sometimes we are so happy in a spiritual way, even without meditation, just by listening to a Dhamma, just by helping to some people, by reading a book on impermanence and this Dhamma particular to Noble Eightfold Path and 4 Noble Truths. Perhaps you analyze the Dhamma with some practical reason. So your mind is now up to that type of happiness. So that is called jhana quality. So piti bojjanga Pasaddi Sambojjhanga in the Bodhyanga Dharma could be practiced even out of meditation. So, Niramashapiti, we talk about being happy without expectation, being happy without material, things. Just with understanding, we become happy, and that's called the arising of Piti Bodhyanga into a certain extent. So, those who work on the first couple of lines of the Noble Eightfold Path can work on getting into first jhana sooner than people think. Only thing we need to understand how we are going to do that. The path should be very clear for us to do it. For example, if we know how to come to Ottawa from Toronto and from Ottawa to Toronto, we are not worrying about going here and there because we know the path. Just having a talk and conversation throughout the traveling, we can go to the destination without making our road confused, because we have already known about the path. Likewise, if we know the path to first jhana, second jhana, third jhana, and fourth jhana, we are to experience them. Here, Buddha talks about jhanic experiences as the path to get into happiness. Don't forget the audience of discourse. The audience is a group of large group of monks who didn't listen to the Dhamma for a long time. It is said that, in my view, this huge group of monks who listen to Arya Pariyesana Sutta have not understood any stage of enlightenment. So the Buddha is telling this to that group of monks about the importance of letting go of sensual pleasures and attainment to first jhana. And first jhana studies in the Arya Pariyesana. You are searching something noble. On the way to the end of it, you have first jhana, you have second jhana, you have third jhana, and you have fourth jhana. The Buddha is telling them in a beautiful way with examples like deer example and so forth. So this is what the Buddha said there. Let me get that. It is as if a wild deer is living carefree in all ways. Why is it carefree? Because it has gone beyond the hunter's range. In the same way, those engaged in the noble search, established in seclusion from sensuality and unskillful mental qualities, enters and remain in the first jhana. First jhana consists of these things. Experience rapture born of that very seclusion. It is also accompanied by directed thought and valuation. They have become lost to Mara, lost to wrong view. When you attain to first jhana, you are going away from the vicinity of Mara. So it talks about the two different things. It could be either mostly getting away from any new unskillful state. When you are in first jhana, none of the state of greed, hatred, and ignorance are developed. In other words, when we in the first jhana, no development of unskillfulness happen at all. But if people attach jhanic experiences, oh, this is so gorgeous, and it is me who experience with jhana. And if you let your mind strays on these thought processes, now you are going to attach to jhanic pleasure. There you give a rope to Mara again, you rope to those unskillful states. However, just the very jhanic experience with 5 qualities of it, you are not developing any attachment. That's why the Bodhisattva, before the enlightenment, thought about the jhanic path would be the path for enlightenment. He also recalled that experience he got as a child. If this path never develops an iota of unskillfulness, this would be the path for nirvana, he thought. So here first jhana is compared to a state of away from Mara, and if anyone attain to first jhana, it is the first call for Mara that I'm going to defeat you. The Mara inside is the meaning of it, but even the Mara outside would be defeated by way of attaining first jhana. As you know, then Buddha talks about the second jhana. The place where the Buddha talks about first jhana, it means that he talks about the other three jhanas as well. They are in one section, Samma Samadhi. All of these jhanas are a state of samadhi where unskillfulness has have no place at all. So that why did the Buddha say this to this huge group of monks? Because when we talk about jhana, when the Buddha talk about jhana, it talks about the taste of nirvana. If you attain to first jhana or second jhana, third jhana, any state of samadhi, you really like it because it is trouble-free mind, and mind is so nice and no problem, no physical problem, no mental problem. So you are in a state of complete joy. Everybody like this if everybody, if you experience this. So that they are kind of momentary nibbana. That's why it is called Ditta Dhamma Sukha Vihara. So having said this, Buddha wanted these monks to get into samadhi because it is the peaceful path for nirvana. When you practice, dry vipassana, you of course having samadhi with that, but you may not be able to stay longer in this samadhi just to taste it, because your approach to pulling out craving is dry vipassana. You are analyzing yourself in a dry way. But with the jhanic experiences, your way of doing it would be very peaceful. For example, if you take first class or business class in an airplane, it would be with various type of facilities, and the flying would be very comfortable for it. But if you are going in economy class, it's not like that. So attaining jhana in the Noble Eightfold Path and going towards ending of craving would be similar to that first class, business class tickets, and going to the destination with less suffering. Just dry vipassana would be that economic class ticket. Sorry for this analogy, and that's what I justly thought about it. Anyway, the message is very clear that if one attain to jhana over and over and slowly getting into the main issue, I think the path would be easier, but it may take longer. And there are holes on it as well, because unless you have right wisdom, you might be getting into wrong conclusion in the middle of jhana as well. And there are some incidents like that. So in order to go forward in the discourse, I just want to tell you that the Buddha talks about first for jhana, then he goes to explain the arupa jhana as well. Look at the discourse. Further still, those engaging the noble search with complete abandon of self-identification to form, with the fading away aversion, with the cessation of craving here and there, they enter and remain in the dimension of the infinite space. They have become lost to Mara. So the Buddha's recommendation of attaining Akasananchayatana, Vijnananchayatana, and other two, right after first jhana, second jhana, third jhana, and fourth jhana. unless it may not be the it may not be included into Noble Eightfold Path. But in the Noble Eightfold Path, we don't see these Arupa Jhana because they are not highly relevant to attaining Nirvana, but they are a state of mind where you totally away from this hustle, bustle, busy nature. But since your self-view is not harm in that state, they are not considered very important, because Alarakala, Muddakaramput, and many other unknown people at that time attained to these status, these spheres, mental states. But they were not in the right path. They didn't understand right samadhi, as the Buddha said. However, Buddha explained those 4 jhanas as necessary if we complete the path to nirvana through samatha, through cheto vimutti. So Buddha talks about akasananchayatana here, vijnananchayatana, akinchanyayatana, and also neither perception nor akasanayatana. And the Buddha here is teaching his disciples the foolishness about seeking establishing foolishness of the establishment of self. And having said that kind of things, Buddha talks about free from reaction, knowledge and wisdom well established, greed, aversion and delusion are completely overcome. So all these status of samadhi, as the Buddha talk, are still with self-view, view that I exist. In order for us to abandon the view I, me and myself, we are going to really fight with the greed, hatred and ignorance. And that is there you actually uproot the view and also other unwholesome state. If you go to the end of the Arya Pariyasana Sutta, having engaged in the noble search, they are unattached to anything in the world. I mean, the things fabricated, influenced by the worldly things, they are all gone. That is called the carefree or the fearless deer who is away from hunter's range. If you go to the jhana, and that is a temporary state where you have no problem at all with any external negative agencies like Mara or unskillful state. So you have time and space there to get ready to pull out the seed of craving, seed of ignorance, seed of greed and so forth. And when you did it, you are considered the complete liberated one. So in Arya Pariyasana Sutta, the Buddha's intention was to explain the Arya Pariyasana, and well before that he explained us the Anarya Pariyasana, ignoble search. So the differences of ignoble search and noble search were well explained to that group of monks as well as for all of us in this discourse. So that is roughly the skeleton of the discourse, Arya Pariyasana. And in that we have links to 4 noble truths. In that we have direct links to Noble Eightfold Path, and also with the story how the Bodhisattva came through all the way from home to enlightenment. We can learn a lot, and how one should strive for. Actually, I would add here something. We cannot follow the Buddha's footprint, because Buddhas are extraordinary living beings, appeared in the world after long time. But who we can follow is the Bodhisattva. In any discourses where the Buddha talks about his quest to enlightenment, he talks about how the bodhisattvas tried for taking things out and embracing new things in, with some like samadhi and so forth. And look at Devdavitaka Sutta. He is talking about what kind of negative emotion he had is in mind during the period of training and how he overcome them. So that if we follow somebody, of course, we keep the Buddha as our refuge. We take a lot of things from the Buddha's life. In order for us to be like Sariputta and Moggallana and so forth, we try to follow the Bodhisattva's way of enlightenment. How other great disciples overcame those negative state of their mind, and that would be a lesson for us. But Buddha himself is unmatched for us, and that's what I want to add here. So in Arya Pariyesana, in searching the noble truth, what we need to do is look into our mind, look at our body, look at the other people around, and we can see the existing truth of our life. That is called dukkha. If we understand dukkha as it is, the causes of dukkha is also there, and way out of dukkha could be started by treating the cause of dukkha. So that is what Arya Pariyesana is, and we are going to do the discussion now. I can see that Dr. Pial is here with raised hand, so you take your time, please.
Bante, this is like an amazing discourse, because this is Buddha is like a scientist saying this is the normal investigation. It can be done. In other words, we are subject to old age, sickness, and death, but we still can find. His hypothesis is we can find a place where which is not subject to old age, sickness, and death. So if you're looking in the wrong place, in other words, you're subject to old age, sickness, and death, and you're looking for something which is subject to old age, sickness, and death. That is ignoble search. So even a jhanic experience is in a way Alamakara Uddakaramputra is an ignoble search, because it's end up in arupa jhana. It's not, the job is not done yet, right? So that's what he said. This is and I tested it, and this is the cause of it, and this is how you get rid of it. So, and it's a true scientist. That's the Pariyesana is like investigation, like the research, right? He does, and he now lays it out for all of us. It's possible. It can be done. So it's that way. It's a kind of it kind of summarizes the whole of the teaching, how he lays it out. My question is, I think you also mentioned about there are ways people can into jhanas, like by meditation, also like contemplation, and even discussion. I think there's a sutta called Pancha Vimuktayatana Sutta, where Buddha talks about meditation is one area where you can enter jhanas, but also by either teaching Dhamma or listening to Dhamma, while listening to Dhamma, or contemplation on Dhamma, or or investigation, reciting or stanzas, my mind can become settled, refined, and blissful, and there one person can enter jhanas. So there's only meditation. I think samatha is one way, like either breath or whatever object you want to use. But there are other options out there in the sutta. It can be, I think that's what you I think referring to. The mind becomes serene, blissful, happy, and person into like the first jhana, pushed into the first jhana on his own, like by contemplation. So that's one thing I want to just mention there.
Yes, indeed. That's what I mean. You shed a lot of lights on certain things we already explained by adding and also mentioning some important discourses. Yes. When the Buddha talks about jhana, I like that to elaborate. He mentioned that jhana qualities could be gained through even reflection. The very three words that the Buddha used. Of course, this is for somebody who has already practiced jhana. Akichalabi, akasiralabi, nikamalabi hoti. It means that those who have learned about jhana through experience can get those jhanic experiences at will, akichalabi, without too much work on it.
Yeah.
And akasiralabi, you don't want to spend so much time on focusing on things to attain jhana because you know the path of it. You just get it. And nikamalabi hoti, without too much suffering. I mean, without too much trouble, you get it. So just by will, you can actually get this vitaka vichar is there, and piti sukha ekaggata. You, because if you have tasted the honey, you still remember the taste of honey. If you tasted the soul, you know the taste of kind of recognition of the taste of the soul is always in your mind. Likewise, attaining first jhana and so forth could be done over and over for those people who have experienced it. Let's talk about those who do not do so. Now, how could they, encourage themselves to do it? The way to do it, as I said, I always take the Bodhyanga, Piti Bojjanga and Passaddi Bojjanga. I'm not telling that the level of Bodhyanga could be quickly gained by somebody just because of thinking, but let's take the point, Piti Passaddi. They are talking about the state of peaceful mind, the mind that has associated some sort of lack of hindrances. So that could be gained even by just listening to a very logical Dhamma sermon. And I like the word you used for the Buddha, scientist. So we can be scientists for a moment just by analyzing our mind and body into a certain extent, so that you see the trajectory of your mind and body. There you have kind of joy. Okay, I see this. Oh, this is so peaceful. And being away from what you see, what you hear, and what you sense for a moment is a type of nibbanic momentary nibbana. So I have done this quite a lot. I listen to Dhamma talks of other Bantes and lay people and read books and so on. And my mind is not with any sort of sensual pleasures, and I check it, I tested it, I know it. So that I'm not saying that you are fully in the first jhana, but you have some sort of qualities.
Experience blissful,
yeah.
But
so it could be done.
Yeah, the science, even science has shown as a research study. It's not relevant to our Dhamma discussion, but it's called self-stimulating reward system. It's a research done in California. Person who can spontaneously go into jhanas, they did the fMRI scans, and they found what happened. They can stimulate the area called nucleus accumbens in the brain. It's like they can hit those frequencies and area of the brain which can stimulate like a morphine, like a receptors, and there's a high level of. So it can be done for these people. It is possible to scientifically explain this, but obviously we need to practice. You can't just do it. So there are areas of the brain which stimulates, like a morphine receptor. So they call it a self stimulating reward system. Interesting.
Self-stimulating
reward system of the brain.
I think whatever the science found so far about the mind is amazing. We are trying to find it in a different way, and they are trying to do the same thing in a different way. We should not deny what science says. Of course, we have to take them. Maybe wise people can find thing easily with the scientific method. Like, for example, no scientist, I think, meditated a lot and did this experiment to find out the brain and the secret things of the brain and the heart. And as you are a doctor, you know how analytical you are with the body, and Also, there are doctors who talks about the mind and various things. So they haven't meditated like Buddhist monks and nuns and lay people, but they have some sort of clear mind and unification of the mind to do that. And I think learning their technique to unify our mind would be helpful for us to find the root causes of craving and so forth. And if we are able, if the scientists are able to see how ignorance is arising in mind, and if their mind directs towards that end, I think they would be attaining enlightenment too. I think what science already discovered is amazing in the sense of
they're confirming what it was discovered so many years ago. They're just reconfirming. But the five sensual chords of pleasures, it's not the sensual objects is a problem. It is the nate kamayani chitrani loke. I mean, it's the kama is not the sensual place, but it's sankalpa rago purisasa kamo. That's the thought, the concept, what we have. So if you see a beautiful rose or a flower, it's not the rose's fault or anything like that. We just go after it. Our concept or our sankalpa is the one which is the sensual desire. So Buddha, in a sense, like giving something else to replace it. The jhana is something replacement, that it is not the end though. That's where the Alama Karamkuddha Karamaputra got stuck, because we need to go beyond that, at least the fourth jhana, where the insight starts to develop. When you're coming out with the equanimity, then you start seeing things clearly and see where this the point of problem is, the attachment, the craving, tanha, desire for this, which we can cut it. If it's not, you cannot, if they are attached together, we have no way of getting enlightened. Unfortunately, just like remember the example of the cow, the black cow and the white cow, if they are tied together with the rope, if you cut the rope, they can be separate. But if there is no rope, then we have no way of the eye attached to the object. There is no way we can get rid of it.
Yeah, very true. Yes, the perception we have on certain things, on things is the main thing. Outer objects that exist around us could not be the problem. It is the way we think about it. Think about them would be the case. Sankaparago purisasakama, the person's concept about things, namely the perception, is the main thing. So it is said in the Rupa Raga, the very word, the Rupa in us is a Sankalpa, is a concept. We see things and we hear things and we taste, smell and so forth, and we create a kind of concept in mind. It's called solid, we create the same idea, same thing in our mind, while and then create all kinds of attachment to that particular mental state.
So abhinandati abhivadati ajjosayati nandi. Nandi is like a desire, right? Then that's where every start, like, so you create a continuous thought about the same object and like go in circles, and then you cling to those, like the idea. So it's like the craving, thoughts of craving, prapanya around the same object. Yes, very interesting. Sorry, I think I took too much time. I'll let others.
No, it's okay. And nobody has raised their hand, so that I can assume that nobody is going to talk. No matter which and what you do in life, have this observation in mind. What is this world? Who am I? And what I am doing? I see many things, and things are changing, and what is going on. So if you look at your mind with some instruction, I don't say that you look at your mind without point, then you become you end up with this analysis with type of frustration. So you should have a purpose in mind. Why do I look into my mind? Why do I analyze this? Just because I need to get away from mental suffering, I would say, domanas. So with that idea in mind, if you search through, you will find that I have been doing so many things and they are not important to my life, my happiness. Throughout the day, average people try to get something and enjoy something, but next day we see they are unhappy about the same thing they got. Again, they are trying for something else. So this is the way that common human life goes from today to next day and next day to next day. And what we see, what we hear are all phenomena, what do you call fabricated things. Of course, I can see flowers, I can see you, I can see the building and things, work, but they are all illusionary state in one sense, because it is your mind takes this information and fabricate them as solid and beautiful, ugly, and things like that, and let enjoy them being ignorance about the reality. So this is what happened to us in normal setting. What the Buddha talk about in this discourse called Arya Pariyesana and other discourses, that this is ignorance.
It's like
Open
a dream.
of your mind.
And in this dream, you see the
it's a dream.
Or like the dog licking the bone. There's nothing in there. There's so many metaphors he gave. It's just but still we go after it. I guess although we see a glimpse of absolute truth or reality, but we get caught again because of our ignorance. We get pulled to the conventional way of looking at the world, because we live in a conventional world. So it's a tough thing. We kind of fight each other all the time, but unfortunately we cannot separate unless you become getting rid of all the ignorance. Although we have a glimpse of, which is true, this is impermanence, not emptiness. There's nothing to grab onto, but at the same time we keep grabbing onto. Interestingly.
True, actually true. It is so subtle. That's why the Buddha was in a state of not confusion, state of silence, not to tell anything about this Dhamma, because he thinks that this difficulty of attaining enlightenment for average people, because this is so the mind gets complicated very easily. Try to remove the garbage of it from one side, or from the other side the garbage again comes. It happens in a very quick it happens in a very subtle way and a quick way and an easy way, and then so that it's very difficult. And if you go to a huge tank, huge volume of water with a small cup, to remove the water from the tank, and it's impossible, because the water is coming through from the earth and from other sources of water in a huge volume, and you are removing water from a small cup, which is not happening. So that we should not be discouraged by seeing the depth of the Dharma, depth of the reality, but try our best to at least do some little things and things over and over, so that little things become strong at some point, and maybe enlightenment could happen to us at some point of our practice. But understanding that it is hard is important.
Mande, you talk about Shushka Vidarshana. Because nobody's online to ask questions, I'll just keep going. Shushka, it's never mentioned in any of the sutras. It's just that Buddha talk about Samatha Pubbanga Vipassana Pubbanga Samatha. So from the inside path, you can go to the Samatha too. So that is probably what they interpret as Shushka Vidarshana. So also maybe in another sutta, Buddha talks about a pleasant path ending with pleasant results. Maybe jhana experience is pleasant and ending up pleasant quickly, pleasant results. Whereas difficult, unpleasant path, like we kind of insight meditation, insight contemplation. You can't say meditation, I guess, contemplation of impurities of the body, unpleasantness, death contemplation, though unpleasant experiences, but end up with eventually pleasant, maybe end up in jhana once the mind settles down. So it's interesting how he talks about this in different ways and different times in the sutta. Yeah.
True. Buddha did not talk about two vehicles of meditation separately a lot in the Dharma, and we of course do not find anything significant like that. But later on, when the tradition evolved, this separation of samatha and vipassana, took place. Anyway, as you said, Yuganatha Sutta, yes, some people can start the meditation by analyzing himself or herself as anicca, dukkha, and anatta. It means you look at the body, you look at your mind as impermanent phenomena right from the beginning of your meditation. So that is the initial vipassana technique. Feeling, perception. Let's talk about five aggregates. You analyze them as impermanent, unsatisfactory, and you don't find self in the five aggregates. So that is the core of vipassana. If we attach to other things, like we analyze the body as elements, and as the whole body and mind both as aggregates and so forth, that is the core of vipassana. And
is that called discernment release? Like, whereas the other one is called awareness release.
Panya vimutta, yes.
Yeah, okay.
So when you take that type of vipassana technique for your meditation, you could be either ubato bhaga vimutta, no, sorry, the panya vimutta, and also, but if you also do things to get into jhana, even through those vipassana techniques, because through vipassana you can stay in samadhi as well into a certain extent. And look at Venerable Sariputta and those monks, those who have did both samatha and vipassana, they are called ubato bhaga vimutta. That skill could be attained. So this is a channel you enter into meditation, vipassana, yanika, and samatha yanika. It doesn't mean that you
can do one is exclusive.
That's true.
So you have to do, I mean, even vipassana people too, I mean, obviously they contemplate on breath. So eventually the meditation on anapanasati, they must have done it. So they're going to jhana, samatha way. But the vipassana alone, you can't just do, but I'm sure they have practiced the other forms of meditation. So vipassana probably helping them to push through the jhana, the samatha path. So it's interesting how both come together. You can't one without the other, it's just impossible.
Yeah, that's true. And I always thought this question some years ago, why venerable monks like I can remember the names. I thought anyway, some monks are panya, they don't have that skills to do like miracles, and they don't have that
I don't think they samatha part, those are the byproducts, right? So you really don't need those byproducts. Like if you get into the insight with the samatha, I think that's good enough to release.
Once you attain to arhanship with vipassana technique, and you don't have particular knowledges like divine eye and other forms. No, I thought that why these arhants cannot practice it, but the reason is that once you attain to arhanship, why do you want to meditate for gaining any other thing? Because you have no purpose there, because you have done whatever has has to be done for enlightenment. And
it's a distraction. I think you don't need it anymore.
Yeah. So if we ask the question from Arahants who attain to enlightenment with with the way called Panyavimutta, why don't you practice with the Dibba Sota, because you have no problem now? I think I don't know what answer they give us. They give us anyway. There is no any intention.
No point.
Yeah.
I'm looking for another. I guess you're looking for another aggregates somewhere else. Like like if you're the Basota, like you're looking for somebody's. You hear something further away. That's another aggregate. What's the point? You just already let go on the aggregate. So
yes,
go after it's not. Anyway, sorry.
So,
I think sorry. I'm
no,
just carrying on the conversation. I'm not sure that
no, I think it's totally okay. And so I think we finished the discussion on Arya Pariyesana Sutta. And if you want to go in details of Arya Pariyesana Sutta, you better read it carefully, either Pali version or English version as you fit, and stay there thinking about it, because in a reading like this we would be going faster. You may be missing some reading. This is not reading, this is taking some points from discourse and discuss on that further, elaborating the Dhamma. So in order for you to develop type of Shraddha on it and find more details, find links to other discourses, it is very beneficial for you to read it carefully alone, taking time. Do I understand this? Do I understand what does this mean for me? From with regard to Dhamma point of view, what the Buddha meant here. So that questions actually organize your thought about the discourse. The way to read discourse is discussed a lot in the Dharma as well. And when we were in the monastic colleges, we were taught a little bit about it. Just read the discourse from with one breath from the beginning to the end, and that's your first reading. In the second reading, you read for some main points, and in the third reading, you keeping the main point in mind and other details in other information. You pick up additional supportive sub conditions for the points and so on. And now you go to think about it. So now the map of the sutta, skeleton of the sutta is in your mind. And now next, taking the points in that discourse, you link the Dharma into other discourses and the Dharma in the other discourses. So by doing this, what happened to us is we remember the discourse. We remember the Dharma of the discourse. And there is another level to do. That is applying this Dhamma to daily experiences of us. When people die, when people sick, when people talk something not related to Dhamma, when people engage with day-to-day activities. So keeping that Dhamma in mind, analyze those incident happenings, occurrences with the Dharma. So in theoretical level, we have to do these levels of Dhamma, level of practice, in order for us to develop Shraddha, develop urgency, Dharma Sangveg, and so forth. So that I think we all should come to that level of reading Sutta, so that quickly we will cover many aspects of the Dhamma. So that's what I wanted to say you at last. It's a very nice day for us. From one sense, the weather is good. In other sense, we can spend time for Dhamma and other important things as well in this era of the in this time of the year, so that it is so beautiful. And try your best to meditate, try your best to read Dhamma, try your best to analyze Dhamma, and by doing these things, may we all be able to go forward in the Noble Eightfold Path, and any merits we developed individually as well as a group. May you be in enlightenment soon. With this wholesome thought, we are going to end today's Sutta study class. Sadhu, sadhu,
Sadhu,
sadhu.
sadhu.